Hello YouTube, this is Corbin22 here. So I apologize for not uploading the video yet last night. I was in a bit of a funk and I didn't really have any ideas for a 100-point squadron build. But to make up for that, I've decided to create a 300-point epic squadron build meant only to be used for epic tournaments. I kind of got the idea when I was browsing through the Fantasy Flight website and I came across rules for epic tournament play. And I noticed that these with epic tournament play you have like 300 squadron points to work with. So I thought, well, I do have a huge ship, so I figured, what can I do to make an effective epic build? So I threw some ships together, some upgrades, and here's what came out of it. It's the build consists of a GR-75 medium transport, 3 A-wings piloted by Tycho, Celchu, and 2 Green Squadron pilots. 3 X-Wings piloted by Garven, Dreis, and 2 Red Squadron pilots, and 3 Y-Wings piloted by Dutch Vander and 3 Gold Squadron pilots. Now, there really is no actual focus to the build. Really, all it is just the A-Wings are going to be going out attacking the enemy ships first, whereas the X-Wings and Y-Wings will provide covering fire for the transport as it moves along the field. If enemy ships do get closer than you'd like, you can send in the X-Wings and leave the Y-Wings to guard the transport. But of course, the Y-Wings also have their fair share of warheads and ion cans that they can use to disable enemy ships and have them either go off the playing field or have them crash into the transport, which will destroy them. But of course, you have to roll for damage, kind of like how you would if your ship runs into a debris or asteroid field. So here's the ship, and here are the pilots. Let's look at the actual build itself. Now, this build is a huge build. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I've got 10 ships going on right here. 9 of them are squadron fighters, and there's only 1 large ship here, or huge ship, I should say. Let's not waste time and let's go right into the build. We'll start with the huge ship of the build, and it is a GR-75 medium transport. It has a pilot skill of 3, and it can only be used in epic tournament play. It has an energy value of 4, an agility value of 0, a hull value of 8, and a shield value of 4. You can take on the Recover, Reinforce, Coordinate, and Jamming actions. It costs 30 squadron points, and is able to take on 2 crew slots and 3 cargo holds. Now, it doesn't have an ability, and even though it has a low pilot skill, the GR-75 will always move last. So any other fighter or a large ship will move before the transport regardless of pilot skill. Now, the transport has a lot of extensive upgrades going for it. So we'll start with its modification, and that is a combat retrofit. The combat retrofit is a modification meant only for the GR-75, and it states increase your hull value by 2 and your shield value by 1. So for 10 points, you now have 10 hull and 5 shields, which will help you sustain extra damage in the long run. Plain and simple. Next, we'll go on to its title card. It's a bit of a special one. Its title card is the Quantum Storm. It says here a purple +1. That means, from what I gather, it means your energy limit is increased by 1. So instead of having 4, you now have 5 energy. And it states at the start of the end phase, if you have 1 or few energy tokens, you can gain 1 energy token. So yeah, I guess for 4 squadron points, I'm guessing at the end phase, if you have 1 or few tokens, you can gain 1 energy, and you can allocate that into recovering your shields or coordinating for the next attack. Whatever. Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it'd be used for. And now for the actual upgrades. The first upgrade I've chosen, the first crew slot I've chosen, is a guy called Dodonna. He is meant for huge ships and rebels only, and it states, when another friendly ship at range 1 is attacking, it may change one of its hit results to a critical hit. So this is especially useful for the X-Wings and Y-Wings, because they're going to be staying very close to the transport. And as long as they stay within range 1, all of their attacks, anytime they attack, one of their hit results can be changed into a critical, which will add for extra damage. And a lasting effect, too. Excuse me. Now, for the next upgrade, the next crew slot, I've chosen a WED-15 repair droid. It can only be used during it's a crew that can only be used during the action phase, and it states spend 1 energy to discard 1 of your face down damage cards, or spend 3 energy to discard 1 of your face up damage cards. So this guy's good for dealing with hull damage if your shields are down. You can spend. You can allocate 1 energy to discard any of your face downs, which is good. But if you're really desperate, you can allocate 3 energies to discard one of your face dots, which will not only heal you of that damage, but it will also it will also get rid of the lasting effect of the critical. Now for the cargo, I've decided to give the GR-75 or the Quantum Storm slicer tools. Again, used during the action phase, and it states choose 1 or more enemy ships at range 1 to 3 that have a stress token. For each ship chosen you may spend 1 energy to cause that ship to suffer 1 damage. So this allows the transport to have some offensive capabilities, because you can, for the first turn, you can jam the enemy to have them get 2 stress points. The enemy might remove 1 of them the next turn, but if you use slicer tools the next round, they get 1. For every energy point you spend, that ship gets 1. That ship gets 1 damage. So actually, it doesn't really matter how many stress tokens they have. If they're stressed, you can spend. Oh, it says you can spend 1 energy. Never mind. It's 1 for 1. You can't really add to it, but that's okay. For the next cargo, I have chosen a comms booster, and this states energy. So I'm guessing you have to spend energy in order to use this. It states spend 1 energy to remove all stress tokens from a friendly ship at range 1 to 3, and then assign the focus token to that 1 ship. So this could be pretty good. This can be pretty good, especially if someone like Garven Dreis is stressed, because you move the stress token off him, then he gets a focus. He can then spend that focus, and his ability will allow him to, rather than spend it completely, transfer it to another ship that could use the focus for to offense or defense. And finally, for the last cargo sold, I've chosen a frequency jammer. It states, when you perform a jam action, choose 1 enemy ship that does not have a stress token at range 1 of the jammed ship. The chosen ship receives 1 stress token. So frequency jammer, it's kind of like an area of effect kind of thing. The frequency jammer, to deal 2 stress to the target, and any other enemy ship at range 1 also gains 1 stress. So that also helps for widespread stress, dealing with stress, and limiting the enemy's abilities to move. So that's the GR. We'll go now to the first squadron here, which is Red Squadron, and it's led by none other than Red Leader himself, Garven Dreis. He has a pilot skill of 6. He flies the Incom T-65 X-Wing. He has an attack value of 3, an agility value of 2, a hull value of 3, and a shield value of 2. He can take on the focus and lock-on actions. He costs 26 squadron points. He is able to take on a Warhead upgrade and an Astromech upgrade. His ability states, after spending a focus token, you may place that token on any other friendly ship at range 1 to 2 instead of discarding it. So yeah, Garven Dreis can work pretty well with the Quantum Storm, because the comms booster spends an energy to relieve, say Garven's stress. The Quantum Storm can use comms booster to relieve Garven of the stress, then give him a focus. He can then use the focus, and any ship at range 1 to 2 of him will gain that focus he spent, and then they can use it for any offensive or defensive capabilities. Now for his warhead, I've chosen Plasma Torpedoes. This is a new torpedo that came out with a K-Wing set. It has an attack value of 4. It can be used at range 2 to 3. And they state, spend your target log and discard this card to perform this attack. If the attack hits, after dealing damage, remove 1 shield token from the defender. So this is pretty useful. For chipping away at shields. So say you attack with plasmas, and the plasma only remove, like, say 3 out of 4 shields. With the plasma's secondary effect, it removes that remaining shield token and leaves them pretty much bare for hull damage. So it's more, I guess you could say it's kind of like, an upgraded version of the Ion. I guess you could say it's like yeah, it's a shield whittler, so to speak. Yeah, that's plain and simple. Now for his Astromech, I've chosen to give him R5K6. After spending a target lock, you roll 1 defense die. On a defense result, immediately acquire a target lock on that same ship. You cannot spend this target lock during this attack. So R5K6 will allow Garven Dreis to continue getting a lock on, which will free him up provided he gets evade result, which will allow him to focus on getting focus results or focus actions, which will be good because, again, combined with the GR-75's comm booster, the stress he gets, any stress he receives will get removed, and he'll be assigned another focus, so it won't count as taking a focus action. So if he's locked on, takes a focus, it gets removed the stress from the cons booster, then he'll be assigned a second focus, which he can then later assign to another ship at range 1 to 2. Now, for his 2 wingmates, I've chosen 2 Red Squadron pilots. They have a pilot skill of 4. They also fly the Incom T-65 X-Wing. They have a attack value of 3, an agility value of 2, a hull value of 3, and a shield value of 2. They take on the focus and lock-on actions. They cost 23 squadron points, and they're able to take on a Warhead upgrade and an Astromech upgrade. They're common pilots, so they don't have any abilities. And I've given each of them different Astromechs, so I didn't really have 2 of the same for each of them. So for the first one here, I've chosen R4D6. It states, when you are hit by an attack and there are at least 3 uncancelled hit results, you may choose and cancel those results until there are 2 remaining. For each result cancelled this way, receive a stress token. So, yeah, by using R4D6's ability, it helps to, pretty much it helps to dampen the damage, so to speak. Like you'll regardless of what you do, you'll still suffer some damage, but and then he also gets stressed. But thankfully, with the GR75's cons booster, it'll allow him to remove that stress, and he'll get a free focus. And yeah, plain and simple. Now for the second Red Squadron pilot, I've given him an R5 Astromech. And it states, during the end phase, you may choose one of your face-up damage cards with the ship trait and flip it face down. So with the R5 Astromech, it pretty much cancels out all critical hits that have the ship trait. So for example, damaged cockpit, munitions failure. You know, it flips that face down. You'll still get the damage, but at least you won't have to suffer from the effect throughout the rest of the match. Moving on to the second squadron, we'll be looking at now Dutch Vander. He has a pilot skill of 6. He flies the BTL Y-wing fighter. He has an attack value of 2, an agility value of 1, a hull value of 5, and a shield value of 3. He can take on the focus and lock-on actions. It costs 23 squadron points. And is able to take on a turret upgrade, 2 warheads, and an Astromech. His ability states, after acquiring a target lock, choose another friendly ship at range 1 to 2. The chosen ship may immediately require a target lock. So Dutch Vander is pretty much what Garven Dreis is, but instead with focuses, it's lock-ons. So his Gold Squadron wingmates are, well, if he acquires a lock-on, his Gold Squadron wingmates will also be able to acquire a lock-on. Any other ship around him in range 1 to 2 will also acquire lock-ons, provided they're within range 1 to 2. So yeah, by grouping the Y-wings together, they'll all get target locks, which will save them on that extra action they'll have to take, and they can use it on focus, and they'll also be able to use their warheads right off the bat. Now for his first upgrade, with all of the Y-wings, I've chosen to give them ion cannon turrets. They have an attack value of 3 and can be used at range 1 to 2. It states, attack one ship even outside your firing arc. If this attack hits the target ship, the ship suffers 1 damage and receives 1 ion token, then cancel all dice results. So the ion cannon turret is pretty good if the enemy ships get too close, because you could zap them with a burst of your ion cannon, and they'll get disabled, they'll take 1 damage, and if they're unlucky, they'll run right into the transport and they'll be destroyed. Of course, you'll have to roll for damage, but thanks to the transport's recover action, it's kind of, you know, yeah, it'll be okay. It can take the hit. Now for his first warhead, I've chosen to give him some extra munitions. They state, when you equip this card, place 1 ordnance token on each equipped warhead, missile, and bomb upgrade card. When you are instructed to discard an upgrade card, you may discard 1 ordnance token on that card instead. So the extra munitions allows you to carry 2 of the same secondary at a cheaper cost. So no more having to spend 12 points onto advanced torpedoes when you can just have an extra munitions and cut the advanced torpedoes and cut the cost down by 4, which is pretty nifty. Now for his actual warhead, I have chosen standard Proton Torpedoes. They have an attack value of 4 and can be used at range 2 to 3. And they state, spend your target lock and discard this card to perform this attack. You may change one of your focus results into a critical result. So this plain and simple. This card is good for dealing critical damage right off the go-get. And thanks to Dutch Vander's extra munitions, he'll be able to acquire 2 critical hits in the span of 2 turns, provided he can get a lock on. Now for his Astromech, I've chosen to give him R5P9. It states at the end of the combat phase, you may spend one of your focus tokens to recover one shield up to your shield value. So this guy's ability is similar to that of R2D2, but with R2D2, it's for every green maneuver you do. With R5P9, if you have a focus left over at the end of the combat phase, you can spend that focus to recover a shield, which will be handy because the Y-wing only has 3 shields, and you'll need all the defense you can get with those things. All right, and now we'll move on to the rest of Gold Squadron. And covering Dutch Vander are 2 Gold Squadron pilots. They have a pilot skill of 2. They fly the Koyansar BTL Y-wing. They have an attack value of 2, an agility value of 1, a hull value of 5, and a shield value of 3. You can take on the focus and lock-on actions. It costs 18 squadron points, and they're able to take on a turret upgrade, 2 warheads, and an Astromech upgrade. They're common pilots, so they don't have any abilities. And their builds are pretty much the same. Like, all 3 of them have ion cannon turrets. All 3 of them, or the Gold Squadron pilots also have R2 Astromechs, which allows you to treat all 1 and 2 speed maneuvers as green maneuvers. So now, as you know, the Y-wings only have 2 green maneuvers. It's a speed 1 ahead and speed 2 ahead. With the R2 Astromech, it turns all of the Y-wings 1 and 2 speed maneuvers as green maneuvers, so it allows them to get rid of stress more easily. And then for each of them, I've also given 2 Flechette Torpedoes. They have an attack value of 3 and can be used at range 2 to 3. And they state, discard this card and spend your target lock to perform this attack. After you perform this attack, the defender receives 1 stress token if their hull value is 4 or lower. Very, very useful against every single TIE fighter out there. Regardless if this attack hit or miss, if their hull value is below 4, they will get stress. Adding to the fact that they could also get hit by a jam from the transport will make it even more hazardous for them to move. Alright, so now let's move on to the final 3 ships of this build. And they are ships from Green Squadron, led by none other than Tycho Celchu. Tycho has a pilot skill of 8. He flies the RZ-1 A-Wing Interceptor. He has an attack value of 2, an agility value of 3, a hull value of 2, and a shield value of 2. You take on the Focus, Lock-On, Boost, and Evade actions, cost 26 squadron points, and is able to take on an Elite Pilot skill upgrade and a missile upgrade. His ability states, you may perform actions even while you have stress, or stress tokens. So with Tycho, you can perform a K-turn, get stress, but you still need to perform all of your actions in your action bar. Focus, Lock-On, Boost, or Evade, which will be handy for getting the drop on your opponent. You do a K-turn, then use a boost to get behind them, and they'll allow you to attack them at range 1 for that extra attack boost. Now, for all 3 of the A-Wings I've chosen, I've chosen to give them each a Chardaan Refit, which has a negative squadron point cost, so total all the A-Wings now cost, they have like -6, they cost 6 less than they normally do with them all together, which actually helps for getting those extra upgrades. And for Tycho, the only other upgrade I have for him is Outmaneuver. Oops, hang on. Which states, when attacking a ship inside your firing arc, if you are not inside the enemy's firing arc, you reduce the agility value by 1 to a minimum of 0. So that's where the whole K-turn, the whole performing abilities while stress comes into play. Tycho does a K-turn, gets stress, he's still able to do an action, he can get behind them at range 1. Outmaneuver allows him to reduce the enemy's agility value by 1, which makes him especially effective against bombers and heavy assault ships, or huge ships like the transport. And yeah, and that pretty much guarantees your shot's going to hit, provided you get some good dice rolls. Now for his wingmates, I've chosen 2 Green Squadron pilots. They have a pilot skill of 3 each. They both fly the RZ-1 A-Wing Interceptor. They have an attack value of 2, an agility value of 3, a hull value of 2, and a shield value of 2. They can also take on the Focus, Lock-On, Barrel, or Boost, and Evade actions that cost 19 points, well 17 now with the Chardaan refits. And they can take on an Elite Pilot skill and a missile upgrade. They have no abilities because they're common pilots, and because Outmaneuver took up the last 3 points, I'm unable to give these guys any Elite Pilot talents of their own or upgrades, so yeah, they're mainly just there for support. So yeah, I don't really have a name for this. I guess I'll just call this build and name it after the transport I've chosen, which is the Quantum Storm Escort. Yeah, I'll do that. Its strengths, again, it's an epics build, so it also the transport has 3 squadrons to keep it covered, and 2 of them can go off and fight at a distance, while 1 of them can remain behind and provide covering fire for the transport, as well as benefit from the transport's abilities from a close range. The X-wings are good. They have high attack. They have a decent attack value and decent defense. Garven Dreis allow him to spend his action or spend his focus and give it to any of his wingmates. Same with Dutch Vander. He gets a lock on, and any other ship at range 1 to 2 will also get a lock on, allowing for instant use of the torpedoes. And the A-wings, well, they're interceptors, so they're really, really fast. And Tycho's ability plus Outmaneuver makes him very lethal in a dogfight. Not counting the transport out, it's also got some pretty good upgrades of its own. Thanks to the Quantum Storm title card, it can take 1 more energy point than it normally can. The combat retrofit increases its defensive value, and all of the upgrade cards allow for greater defense and limited offensive capabilities as well. The downsides of this build, the biggest downside is the transport itself. It has no weapons whatsoever, so it has to rely on fighter escorts and other huge ships to protect it from damage. And a strategy you can use is, like I said before, have the transport run into an enemy fighter, have it get destroyed, but you will have to roll for damage. So that means if you go with that tactic, you're going to be using the recover action a lot, which could prove to be like kind of a waste. So yeah. Anyway, this is my Quantum Storm Escort epic build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Any constructive criticism is greatly appreciated. If you like, you may use this build in any competitive, casual or epic tournament play. If you want, you can tweak it out or revamp it to your own specifications. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Corbin22 signing off.